Hey everyone, welcome in on this Friday night. I hope you are doing well. Welcome to our little show. I'm Clayton Morris, so glad to have you here. Boy, we have got some stunning news tonight. So on tonight's show, and I'm not going to waste any time, we've got this stunning new massive stimulus plan. It's being hatched by Democrats, and you probably won't actually believe what's in the details of this thing. But they are actually fantastic. And it's, in fact, so big, I can't even believe I'm saying it, and it's being constructed by senior Democrats who have a lot of experience with drafting legislation and being able to cram through large budgetary measures. So this is good news. We will get to that in a second. We've also got some pretty astonishing news on the impeachment front, which could get underway next week. Nancy Pelosi about to send those articles of impeachment over to the House. Some developments late this afternoon on Mitch McConnell and where many senior Republicans are coming down on the side of conviction of President Trump. So we will get to that in just a few minutes. So welcome in on this Friday. I hope you're doing well. Gotta make sure I turn this volume down tonight. Grover is here. Someone's just asking, where is he? He's in his favorite spot. He's ready for a great show tonight after I just took him for a nice long afternoon walk. So he is worn out. Just make sure everything's looking good in the chat tonight. Good to see everybody. How many of you are channel subscribers, by the way? Good to see all of our normal folks here. Good to see all of you. So we were a little late getting started here. It's got a new camera set up, and I'm playing around with some new things. And I should have waited until the weekend, but when I get new gadgets and I want to make the show that much better, I started playing all early this afternoon after our morning show. So if you're new here, we do our morning show every morning live at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and we do our evening show at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So we cover the news that the mainstream media won't cover, and we also give you the angles that the mainstream media won't give you, because the mainstream media is bought and sold by big corporations, so they lie to you on a regular basis, and we don't do that. All right, let's get to it, shall we? Because we have got a lot of stimulus news to get to, and it's complex, but it's fantastic. So let's get to it. So senior Democratic lawmakers, and this is coming from Jeff Stein at the Washington Post, who's been a guest here on the show. He's done an incredible job on this. There's been multiple sourcings on this now, but senior Democratic lawmakers this afternoon, we learned, are moving forward to fulfill President Biden's big desire to expand that child tax credit. Now, folks, this is not a small thing. This is massive and could help restructure and eliminate poverty in this nation, or it could reduce poverty in our country by upwards of 50% or more. We'll get to those numbers in a moment here. Sorry, let me turn this volume down on this thing. I apologize tonight. I have so many emails coming in here, and I just want to make sure that that is turned off. Okay, so right now there's senior Democratic lawmakers on Capitol Hill who are drafting legislation to fulfill President Biden's plan to expand that child tax credit. They're drafting legislation as we speak, and it's not done yet, but it's going to direct the IRS to send recurring monthly payments to tens of millions of American families. Let that just sink in for a second. Recurring monthly payments for almost every American family that doesn't meet like a certain income threshold, the rich. Basically, this would eliminate those credits for the wealthy. We'll get there in a second. Right now, officials are speaking quietly about it. They're not going public with it. There's internal dialogue happening right now on Capitol Hill. So under one draft of the legislation that we've been able to look at this afternoon, there's a plan being discussed that the IRS would be tasked with depositing checks worth $300 every month per child younger than 6 years old, as well as $250 every month per child aged 6 to 17. This is in addition to $2,000 stimulus checks that Democrats like Bernie Sanders are demanding as head of the budget committee. On top of that, so this is recurring monthly child tax credits. That would amount to $3,600 over the course of the year for young children, as well as an additional $3,000 a year for older children, 6 to 17. And there's no cap. One thing the United States has on its hands right now is a population problem. This is the first time, I think in like a century or so, I don't have the exact number, but it's many decades, that we have not had a population increase in the United States. That is a problem. That is not something that countries want. You see what countries like Italy have done, or Portugal, or some other, Spain. They've been begging people who have left those countries, like children or people who move to other countries, come back home. We'll give you residency and then your passport, and we'll give you free land. We will give you a free villa. You'll pay €1. Move home. We need you. I mean, so many problems when you have a decreasing population. I mean, this could actually encourage families who have thought they can't afford to have a second child, or they can't afford this, that they actually would because of a child tax credit. And before you go off and get all thinking that this is just going to be like a land rush for people having kids, that's not what we're talking about here. But if someone was considering having a second child and they just simply don't think they can because just that extra money per month, they don't have it. They can't afford to pay for diapers. They can't afford to pay for the extra care. Now they could. Jeremy in our chat says, this is amazeballs. Yeah, it's freaking crazy. I mean, I want you to, this is, I mean, I got to tell you, I'm being honest here. I'm really, I am surprised, and Democrats are surprising the hell out of me right now. This idea that Joe Biden was going to be this centrist leader, okay, so far has not come to pass. The things that he's been signing, the executive orders that he's been pushing for and signing are very progressive. And I'm a very progressive person. I want universal medical health care in the United States, universal health care. I want free public college. I want child tax credits that even get close to what they do in other parts of the industrialized world, throughout Europe and around the world. I want universal basic income. Heck, the pilot program that they're doing in South Korea right now is astonishing. Hundreds of thousands of South Koreans are getting monthly universal basic income. And guess what? These people aren't lazy. It's helping them to supplement the 2 jobs that they already have. And it's helping to transform their lives. So let me go deeper into this, because unlike the stimulus checks the Biden administration and Democratic lawmakers right now are hoping to make, these child tax benefits would be a permanent government program. This is not a temporary program, folks. This would continue years into the future. This is like a Social Security program for families. And there's multiple proposals. I'm excited about this on so many levels, you have no idea. I spent the afternoon reading many of your emails. I spent about 2.5 hours. I'm sure many of you got emails from me today. And going through your emails, just seeing the pain that you guys are suffering with. Many of you sent me, emails about the cost of your medications, the disabilities, the income inequality. I mean, the list went on and on and on. And I tried to send, as many of you today as I could, a note in response. But I mean, this pain is real. And so when I get excited about this, it's not, it's real because I see all of these messages that come from you on a regular basis. I see your comments here. How would this transform your family? Drop me a comment right now and smash that like button to let me know that you would actually like this kind of program. Again, folks, this would be a permanent program that would continue into future years. Look, and if you just joined us late here, I'll do a recap in a little bit. But for those of our viewers who got here right on time tonight, I want to just continue going through some of these details, and then I will go back, and if anybody of you have any questions, we are live. I will answer some of your questions. So yes, we are live. So Democratic officials who spoke quietly about this, they say the current proposal only calls for expanded benefits to be enacted for 1 year. But another proposal Democrats are hoping for would force Congress to extend them permanently. Now, part of this is that this would be phased out for affluent Americans. So affluent Americans would not get access to this. Though the precise income level has not been determined, it probably would end up being in the $150,000 to maybe $200,000 range or more. I'm hoping that it's higher than that, because for many areas of the country, making $150,000, that's not affluent. I'm sorry. The benefit could prove massively costly. We know that, of course. It could increase the federal deficit by $120 billion for a year, but I don't give a rat's behind. I don't. This government has proven itself to be careless and reckless with money, spending it on BS that we do not need. If we can reallocate, as the Biden administration looks to be doing right now, especially on a war in Yemen, pulling back from a war in Yemen, wonderful. Reallocate the billions we spend killing other people around the world and actually reinvest it in you back home. Imagine that. So for as much as $120 billion in 1 year, that's one estimate. And that's the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, a nonpartisan group. They came up with that number. We don't know how accurate it is, according to Jeff Stein. But it could also curb child poverty in the U.S. Listen to this number. Take a deep breath, and I want you to hear this analysis on what this program could do to child poverty in the United States. It could reduce child poverty in the United States by more than 50%. And that research comes from Columbia University. 50%. Now, where do you think Republicans, let me ask you in the chat, where do you think Republicans would come down on this? Do you think Republicans would support helping needy families? What do you think? Let me know in the chat. Let me see who gives an answer here. Amanda says, I think it would be awesome. Amanda Phillips says, I think that'd be awesome. Yes. See, this is not just, this is a tax credit for those people that could lift entire families out of poverty. And congressional Republicans are expected, of course, to oppose the measure based on its price tag. They're happy to spend billions bombing other countries. But when it comes to, or building a border wall, but when it comes to reinvesting in you, no. Similar plans right now have enjoyed pockets of Republican support. But you do have some Republicans, like Marco Rubio of Florida and Mike Lee of Utah, who actually really want a dramatically increased child tax credit. So in some quarters, you have, Marco Rubio, who's been pushing for stimulus. You have Senator Mike Lee, who's also been pushing for an enormous child tax credit. That's fantastic. Great. In fact, if Bernie Sanders gets his way and we're able to vote on this stuff through reconciliation where we don't need 60 votes and we eliminate the filibuster, then screw the Republicans. I don't care. Who cares what the Republicans think at this point? They lost. They lost running on things and trying to scare the American people into thinking like these types of programs are socialism. But you're too smart. Anyone with a brain that understands what that word means knows that they were full of crap, and they lost the election. And they lost in Georgia. As I mentioned earlier on our morning show this morning, it is incredibly difficult to unseat an incumbent senator with all of the money and entrenched machinery that they have in a state. But Democrats unseated 2 of them in Georgia. That's a remarkable feat, and it gave them the power. So screw you. Sorry about your filibuster. I hope Chuck Schumer has a backbone in all of this and passes and gets rid of that filibuster. All but one Senate Democrat have endorsed legislation to expand the child tax credit in the previous Congress. So I'm sure every Democrat will be on board with this. Now, here's how this would work. Under the plan, the IRS would send these payments automatically to American families every month, similar to how the $1,200 stimulus payments were dispersed last year. And this approach would not require taxpayers to wait until they file their taxes to receive the credit. It would be automatic, and it would go to your monthly benefits, would go there even if they owe the government money in taxes or anything. It doesn't matter. You would receive it. And this will have one, according to some of the members of who did this analysis, they said that this will have more of a collective buy-in if there's a broader swath of population that directly receives the payment. Meaning, if we can just have a massive population that's going to receive these payments on a regular basis, then we're going to have way more buy-in from members of Congress. Imagine being the member of Congress who told your constituents that you didn't think that they deserved a child tax credit on par with what the rest of the industrialized world receives. So you're not going to want to be the member of Congress who goes back to your district and says, "Nah, I didn't support it." No, but I did vote. I did vote to build another aircraft carrier so we can show our force to China, or I voted for a new aircraft carrier so we could show our force to Iran. Great, thanks for helping my family. One senior Democratic aide involved in drafting this legislation said that the popularity of the stimulus payments, over 76% or so of Americans support these stimulus payments. And here is the, sorry, and I'm working with these new camera angles tonight, and I apologize for this awkwardness. But here we go. Senior Democratic officials right now drafting a plan to give parents $3,000 per child and up to $3,600 per year per child, and $3,000. So no cap. And these payments would go out monthly. Democratic lawmakers are also right now exploring whether the Department of Treasury can set up online portal payments for parents. So here, this part really stunned me about this reporting tonight. The Department of Treasury can set up an online portal for parents to manage these new credits. So you would log into the Department of Treasury in the same way, arguably, that you would go in and get your Treasury bonds. I remember for years, one of the first things I did out of college when I didn't know anything about money and investing, I bought Treasury bonds. And it was all, I would go to treasury.gov or whatever it was, and I'd log in and I'd buy Treasury bonds. And, arguably, you'd be able to do it the same way with a much better system, of course, that antiquated website, but that you would be able to log in, access the disbursement of your tax credits, tie it right to your bank account, and you would have access to this stimulus every month. And it would give the taxpayers the option to receive a year's worth of tax credits at filing season rather than every month. So you could choose, like, hey, I just want this $3,000 right now. Or I'm going to wait and break it up over each month. It's up to you. Right now, though, aides are cautioning, according to the reports right now, that it could take time for Treasury to set up that site. We know how the federal government is when they want to set up a website. I could literally call my friends over at Atomic Social and have them set up a website like in an afternoon. That would be far more stable than what the government ends up doing. It's always amazing to me that we can spend billions of dollars on a website. Anyway, other Democrats are worrying that the IRS will have do they have the capacity to disperse these payments efficiently? We've seen the problems we had with the stimulus. But here's one of the brilliant moves on this whole move. Here's one of the brilliant moves on this whole move. That's brilliant. Here's one of the brilliant moves on this whole thing by Democrats, is that right now these discussions are ongoing and that the proposal hadn't been finalized, okay? But one thing we need to understand is what's pretty interesting is that this process would actually mean that it's in keeping with a larger philosophy of overhauling the IRS anyway. And the IRS needs overhauling. If there's one thing we learned last year, holy smokes. Antiquated computer systems. I mean, we absolutely need an overhaul at the IRS. And they've been moving more digitally anyway, but it needs to be overhauled completely. It needs to be made more transparent. It needs to be easier. Some of these people absolutely pull their hair out trying to do their taxes and filings. It needs to be overhauled. And that's what Democrats are trying to do. And so if they can say, hey, we're worried that the distribution of these checks, the IRS might not be able to handle it, but over here we have this other bill that's about to overhaul the entire IRS, we can work in tandem, right? Let's work in tandem on these things. This is my hand signal for tandem. It's kind of creepy, actually. House Ways and Means Committee Chair Richard Neal, who's one of the members of this drafting of this legislation, who's been closely involved in this, the child tax credit piece of this, he said it also draws significantly from legislation that was spearheaded by Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio. So I want to give credit for these senators who are putting this together. These are names we don't hear often. Senator Richard Neal, Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, Michael Bennet of Colorado. So normally you'd think, oh, this is, Bernie Sanders, right? No Bernie in this. He will most certainly support it. But these are interesting times, folks. And I think, look, America currently spends, I want you to hear this statistic. Every time I rub my forehead, this is me aghast at the fact that the United States of America sucks in so many ways when you compare what we do to the rest of the world. America currently spends less than almost any other developed nation on earth on child benefits as a share of its economy. Only a handful of industrialized nations, such as Romania and Chile, rank worse than the United States on child poverty. Way to go, United States of America, the richest country in the world. We just spent $172,000, no joke. We featured it in the newsletter this morning. $172,000 we spent on cleaning the White House to fumigate and getting Trump out of there. They hired a company from Virginia that came in, cleaned every fireplace. There's like 26 fireplaces, every bathroom, everything. Fumigated the place, basically. Wiped every surface down. It cost $172,000 to clean the White House. And we have one of the worst countries in the world, in the industrialized world, for child poverty. So this tax credit proposal is meant in part to address the skyrocketing burden of raising children during a pandemic and the widespread economic suffering that's facing millions of families. Experts at Columbia who looked at this research found that the Biden plan will dramatically reduce the number of children in poverty by as much as 54%. That is the equivalent of 5 million children. And more than 1 million African American children will be lifted out of poverty by this plan. How could you not support this? The only argument against this is, how are we going to pay for it? How will we pay for it? Oh, let me count the ways. So under this current law right now, the child tax credit diminishes in values for Americans who don't earn enough money to use the credit then to offset their tax obligations to the IRS. So that means that the millions of the lowest earners don't make enough to receive the full benefit. How the hell does that make any sense? Right? So Democrats are hoping to get rid of that requirement altogether as part of this broader package. And they want to send these monthly payments. They would remove that tax burden for millions of families. And they would make the benefit fully refundable. What took us so long? And by the way, this Democratic proposal is also expected to phase out above a certain income level, meaning that rich families would not receive it, but eligibility would be based on family income in the prior year. So much like the stimulus payments. So taxpayers could use the new Treasury portal to update their status if they saw some sort of dramatic income declines. So you might be able to log into this new portal that they're going to set up on the Treasury website, and you can type in, hey, I did not make this much money this year. And then that would help people, be able to stress their decision that maybe this whole thing hadn't been finalized. And so you could say, like in this year, look, I just lost a ton of money. So Richard Neal, who's the House Ways and Means Committee chair, said this credit is extremely effective tool in combating child poverty. He said, quote, and Democrats are working to make the expanded version fully refundable and be provided to eligible individuals on a monthly basis. But it's going to be wrapped up in this broader negotiations in Congress over the relief package that Biden is pushing. The $1.9 trillion package would include expanded stimulus payments, unemployment insurance, and Bernie Sanders and others are wanting that to go back up to $600, state and local aid, as well as $2,000 stimulus checks. We know that Nancy Pelosi is ready to work on this. Some lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, though, have argued that the proposed expansions of these child tax credit give too much federal assistance to people who are not working. Heaven forbid that we help people who are not working, but we're able to give massive tax breaks to the wealthiest people. You know, I think one of the things that Bill Clinton proved and worked with Republicans back in the 1990s on the Welfare to Work program is that Americans want to work. They want to work and earn a wage that keeps them out of poverty. That's what we proved with the Welfare to Work program. It doesn't matter if you're working or not. If you're hurting and you're suffering, it doesn't matter. We need to be able to take care of our people. By the way, I love Republicans step in and say, this would give federal assistance to people who are not working. And then the Wall Street Journal editorial board, the rich old white guys, jumps in and says they've criticized prior plans to expand the child tax credit, calling it a benefit, a form of income redistribution. So let me ask you, Wall Street Journal editorial board, what do you call it when you take our taxpayer dollars and you give it to defense contractors and Wall Street in the form of massive benefits and tax incentives? How a company like Amazon can pay nothing in taxes, and yet many of you have to pay more than Amazon does as a percentage of your income. Is that not some form of income redistribution, except you're actually robbing from poor people and giving it to the rich? Wouldn't it be shocking if we did it the other way around? And by the way, instead of just spending money on foreign wars and all of the ways in which we waste money, $120 billion a year to help families, keep them out of poverty, 54% reduction in poverty, child poverty. Yes, sign me up. So massive news on this stimulus front tonight, and I couldn't be more excited about it. I mean, I was stunned going through these details and heard rumblings over the past few weeks about this, but bravo. If you like that, man, smash the like button. Well, smash it for me, but hey, smash the like button and let me know if you agree with this plan. Again, I think the setting up of the online portals would be fantastic to have that recurring stimulus. By the way, this is my little Trojan horse idea, by the way, of setting up this Treasury portal and then working with the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen at the Treasury, working with Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve, talking about perhaps this idea of creating or being able to distribute some sort of universal basic income for Americans using the FedNow program or the digital currency FedNow program. Look, again, you have a number of other industrialized countries now that are finding success with their universal basic income program, South Korea being one of them. New York City is about to get one if Andrew Yang wins the mayorship in New York City, who wants to put forth over billions of dollars in universal basic income for the neediest of New York City residents. Would be huge. Finland has been trying this. Switzerland has been trying this. Canada has been doing it. A number of countries, Germany just started a pilot program on universal basic income. We need to do this. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Drop me a comment below. And if you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Subscribe, please. It's so easy to do. I won't beat you over the head about it, but we do this show every day and we work really hard at it to bring you some incredible progressive news that you're not going to see on CNN, you're not going to see on the mainstream media, and they're certainly not going to call BS like we will here on this channel. So please subscribe to the channel if you'd be so kind. It would mean the world to me. And then you can join our community. We've got a great group of people here. So thank you so much for joining us. So let's talk more about, we've got some other news to get to tonight. And I'll circle back on this. I'll do a little wrap up on this here in a moment. If you missed that.
I've been speaking to...
So right now we're getting some news on the impeachment front. And according to reports this afternoon, as the House gets ready and prepares to send articles of impeachment to the Senate on Monday, Dozens of Republicans around Washington are quietly telling members of the GOP members of Congress to impeach and convict Donald Trump. And it shows you what I've been predicting for the past few days, that this lobbying has started in the House after the attack happened. And now it's more focused on Senator Mitch McConnell. And he says that he wants Trump gone. One Republican member of Congress is reporting tonight. He's saying it is in his political interest to have him gone. It is in the GOP interest to have Trump gone. The question is, how do we get there? Okay. So they need 17 Republicans to join the 50 Democrats in order to convict. Some GOP sources think there is now more and more of an appetite to punish former president than is publicly apparent. It's becoming more apparent. There were 10 House Republicans who voted for impeachment. There were probably over 150, though, that supported it. Charlie Dent, a former Republican congressman and contributor to CNN, said. More than 150 that supported it, but only 10 had the balls to come forward and do it. One ongoing Republican whisper campaign, according to more than a dozen sources this afternoon, that spoke to CNN, based on a shared belief that a successful conviction is critical for the future of the Republican Party. Multiple sources describe this moment as a reckoning for the party. Have I not been predicting this? And I don't mean to say it as a pat on the back, but I could see this from a friggin' mile away. Could you not? Sorry, the Philadelphia slang is coming out in me. But I'm telling you right now that if the Republican Party wants to exist at all, they are going to need to eliminate Trump from their matrix. That's it. Cut and dry. He has to be gone. He has to never be able to run for office again. Because if he is able to run for office and he's able to spin off and start his own Patriots Party, which is something he's planning to do, they are toast. The future of the Republican Party is toast. You have the Mitt Romney world, and then you have the Ted Cruz world. Or you have the Josh Hawley world and the Ted Cruz world, and you have the Mitt Romney world over here and Mitch McConnell. That's what's shaping up to happen right now. And Mike Pompeo, who's lining up to carry the mantle of Trumpism. That is, if Trump doesn't run again in 2024, if he's not convicted or barred from ever running again. I'm telling you what, Mike Pompeo does not have the swagger or skill that Trump does in connecting with the crowd. Do you think, how many people think is going to go to a Mike Pompeo rally? Like, would you get can you imagine, I'll put this up on the screen. Would you imagine somebody getting a Mike Pompeo neck tattoo? Would you have entire white supremacist groups supporting Mike Pompeo? Maybe, I guess, if he's like the standard bearer of the party, but you know, he's already lining up to run for president. There's push for Ivanka also. But what do you guys think in the chat? I mean, you know, where are the white supremacists going to go? You had QAnon and these other members of the white supremacist groups coming out and basically over the last 24 hours in their forums saying that Trump was a shill. Other members of the Proud Boys saying that Trump is going to go down as one of the worst. So even the white supremacists are coming out and not sure what's going to happen. But if Trump can ride back on that white horse and launch the Patriots Party, this is, I mean, that could bring them all back to the fold. So this memo, there's a 9-point memo right now. There's a set of talking points that's been circulating among Republicans arguing for Trump's impeachment. And Mitch McConnell is lining up on the side of conviction, according to these sources. The 9-point memo charges that it is, quote, difficult to find a more anti-conservative outburst by a U.S. president than Donald Trump over the last 2 months. Other points in this memo include that Trump urged supporters from across the nation to come to Washington, D.C. to disrupt Congress on January 6th and egg on the crowd, which was widely understood to include people who were planning to fight physically and who were prepared to die in response to his false claims of a stolen election. The memo goes on to point out that Trump tweeted and made other statements against the vice president as the Secret Service was being forced to rush Mike Pence out of the Senate chamber into a protective bunker. And McConnell is also facing a lot of pressure from a faction of Senate Republicans to stick with Trump, namely Lindsey Graham and Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, the unliked Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, who voted against stimulus, right? Like, these are the people that are calling for him to stick with Trump. These failures, people like Ron Johnson. And Senator Lindsey Graham says, quote, if you're wanting to erase Donald Trump from the party, you're going to get erased yourself, he said on Fox News yesterday. The idea of moving forward without Donald Trump in the Republican Party is a disaster for the Republican Party, he says. One former senior Trump official said, I almost threw up when I saw the president tweeting out against Mike Pence. There are more than 30 former members of the Republicans in Congress that are signed a letter urging House members to vote to impeach. At the same time, current and former Senate aides are encouraging their bosses to seriously consider voting to convict. So the signals that we have now from Mitch McConnell, that he's restrained. They say he's going to be listening to the evidence. But McConnell said the mob was fed lies. They were provoked by the President of the United States and other powerful people. Andy Biggs, Rudy Giuliani. And they tried to use fear and violence to stop specific proceeding of the first branch of the federal government, which they did not like, but we pressed on. So now the president, of course, is lawyering up. We know that the president is getting his legal team in place. But this is stunning news, folks. That McConnell privately says he wants Trump gone as Republicans are lobbying to have him convict him. Nancy Pelosi, for her matter, is going to have these articles over to the Senate as early as over the weekend or early next week, and then that process will unfold from there. But make no mistake about it, this is not about the Capitol. I know that these Republicans are coming out pretending that that's really what they're concerned about. Maybe they are. Look, I think questioning someone's intention is always a dangerous territory, but I also think that knowing that this guy could never run for office again if they vote to convict this guy is self-preservation for Republicans. That machine of the Republican Party will be ripped apart. Their ability to fundraise will be ripped apart. And all of their big money donors are going to be looking at these other candidates and saying, Trump did it before. This Patriots Party, perhaps. Maybe we'll start throwing our money over there. Follow the money, folks. I know they want to couch this as we were really upset. I almost threw up at the Capitol violence, and I'm sure many of them did. But this is self-preservation of the Republican Party. Bottom line, and that's exactly what this memo is saying. I mean, the fact that this memo is being circulated and echoes exactly that it's difficult to find a more anti-conservative, and that this is going to physically rip apart the party. That it's going to be a reckoning for the party. That Trump, quote, created a cult of personality that will be hard for us to dismantle. But a conviction, they say, could do that. I wouldn't be surprised. How many of you would be surprised by a conviction? I wouldn't be at this point. I'm telling you, Mitch McConnell does not like this guy, and he wants the future of the Republican Party intact. He does not want to be the Senate Majority Leader who has an opportunity to save the Republican Party, have placed conservatives on the Supreme Court, which is Mitch McConnell's legacy. He doesn't want to be his last bit of legacy being the Senate Majority Leader that allowed the Republican Party to be destroyed. That would be his legacy in history. He lost Georgia for not voting for stimulus. He enabled President Trump. And that would be the final nail in his coffin. So keep an eye out for it, folks. What do you think? Let me take some of your super chats now. We got a lot of super chats coming in on this Friday evening. Thank you guys so much. Convict, Hasey says. Conviction needed to help America. Barbara Lemire, thank you for your super chat. Says Mitch McConnell is going to do what Mitch McConnell has always done, try to obstruct everything. We'll see if he wants. We'll see if he's able to do that on conviction. I mean, Barbara Lemire says Clayton, a child tax credit is great for people who have a job, which is very few people. No, this would not have anything to do with having a job. It would not. You would not have to have a job to get the child tax credit, Barbara. Darnell Hibbler says no more foreign aid until American citizens are taken care of first. Tax the 1%, repeal the Trump tax cuts, give reparations to Black America, long overdue. Thank you, Darnell. Sorry, I thought my screen is like too far away. This setup, if you could understand the setup, I was screwing with things tonight. I was getting the show set up, setting up the new cameras and everything, and I should have waited and done this over the weekend. So I'm like way too far away from my monitor, so it's like I need to get my binoculars out to see you guys. How many of you had a chance to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel? If you agree with this plan, I see 5,100 likes right now. Smash it. We have 23 new channel members tonight. That's awesome to see. Thank you guys for joining the channel and supporting independent journalism. You know, we have our daily newsletter that goes out. It's totally free. And by the way, we set up a new thing tonight. And I know, thank you. So many of you say how much you love the newsletter. So thank you so much. Please sign up for the newsletter. And then when you get our welcome email, just hit me back. Just say, hey, Clayton, I got the welcome email. Because I send it from my email address. That's how we do it, old school. Clayton@morninginvest.com. But just go to morninginvest.com. Morninginvest.com is the website. Put your email address in there and you'll start getting our daily newsletter Monday through Friday. We take the weekend off because I've got 3 kids. And I do 2 shows a day plus a newsletter. So I wouldn't be able to do anything else. So I need to see my kids. So I hope you'll allow me to have the weekend off from the newsletter. Plus I have a dog too. That's like having 4 kids. He's very demanding. Thank you so much, Carol. Carolyn Wheeler says, I've been a member now for 3 weeks. Thank you so much. Robin Mitchell says, please answer the questions. I will try. I will do my best here. Okay. Let me see here. All right. Shannon Doherty, Super Chat says, we have 6 kids, but my oldest turns 18 next Thursday. We're considering low income and only have 1 income in our house. This proposal credit would help us tremendously. I mean, I added the tremendously, but it could help us. Yes. I mean, imagine being able to go into this Treasury portal and saying, you know what? I don't want to wait to have the monthly disbursements. Just send me the $3,600 right now. Send me the $3,000. And every year, like you could depend on this every year is fantastic. Michael Black says, what about recurring payments for single people with no kids? I would like that. I would also like that if we can get some sort of universal basic income. That's what I'm hoping for. And then also an increase to the minimum wage, also some other tax benefits that for first-time home buyer credits, like all sorts of things they're working on right now. Robert C. says, it sounds like German Kindercare to help parents. Yeah, I mean, look, all of these other European countries do it. The United States is the only industrialized country next to Romania and Chile that doesn't have the type of tax credit for their children. And it would reduce childhood poverty by 54%, according to Columbia University. Fazoa Al-Montazer, thank you, says, much love to you and the family. Thank you so much. Mary Johnson, thank you for your super chat. Says, this is my favorite channel. You guys finally got me to pay attention to the real TEA regarding politics and our shady government. Much love. Thank you so much, Mary. Darnell Hibbler says, Chuck Schumer has no backbone at all. Folks will never be happy with whatever is given. We'll see. Alexi Sell Youngblood says, AOC could take his job. She's trying. That's, again, this is good because AOC could take his job in the Senate. She could run against him. She could primary the heck out of him. And in New York, she would win. Well, it's hard to say, but I really think if she's running a more progressive platform than he is, that's why you're going to start to see Chuck Schumer this year start to do more and more progressive things. So this is good for us. Mary Berry says, having this tax credit would help me finish nursing school without having to work full time while in school. My life would only improve because of this. Exactly. So would you guys like a quick recap on this? I will give you a quick recap if you'd like. Let me know if you would. Just let me know in the chat. If you guys want to smash that like button, I'll give you a quick recap of this amazing stimulus news tonight. Sorry, the chat's kind of flying by quickly with my... Oh, what do the different... Someone says, Andrew Martin says, what do the different Grover colors mean next to the names? Those are just different Grover emotes. Actually, I know we just updated some of the different emote stages, but you guys, if you guys are channel members, of course, you can hit the different channel emote colors. I think bronze, so bronze, and then I think silver. Yeah, we've got the silver level. And I think we've got like a platinum level, I think, too. Yeah, I have to check the latest. We updated them. Penny Mayfield, thank you so much, Penny. Misfit Brit says, recap, please. I'm late. I appreciate all you do. Well, thank you so much. Okay, I will give you a quick recap. So we, if you just joined us, we have a stunning new massive stimulus plan that's being hatched by Democrats right now. And like I said, you probably wouldn't believe these numbers if I told you, but they are fantastic. So I want to I'll just go through a little bit right now what's being considered. But senior Democratic lawmakers right now are looking to both work on the $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. Bernie Sanders is pushing for an additional up to $2,000 plus $600 in unemployment benefits per week. Not that $400, but up to $600. AOC and others are also pushing for that. And again, Bernie Sanders is not going to work with Republicans. If they're not willing to play ball, he's like, I'm done. We're gonna push this through by budget reconciliation process. Republicans have been doing it for years to get tax cuts for the rich. We're going to pass this. We're going to pass stimulus to help working class families. So go Bernie on that front. But the big news of tonight, we know that piece is in the work. But the big news, if you just joined us on this stimulus front, is this child tax credit. They're drafting legislation right now that would direct the Internal Revenue Service to send recurring monthly payments to tens of millions of Americans. Yeah. I mean, it's astonishing. Right now, there's an internal discussion happening. There's a couple of different drafts of this legislation that has the support of President Biden. It has the support of just about every Democrat and some Republicans, including Marco Rubio and Senator Mike Lee of Utah. One draft of this legislation right now would be basically you'd be depositing checks every month in your account in perpetuity. And folks, this is not a stimulus plan. There is one that's kind of a stimulus plan that would last for a year, but there's another that's a permanent sort of Social Security style program. Be $300 every month per a child younger than 6 years old, as well as $250 every month per child from age 6 up to 17. That would be $3,600 a year. And then add in and this would be no cap on kids. It'd be however many kids you have. It doesn't matter. Plus $3,000 if you have a child that's over 6 years old. And they're also talking about setting up a Treasury portal at treasury.gov, which you would log into and you'd see your payment disbursements. And you can opt in. Again, this is still in the planning phase, but you could opt into the treasury.gov platform and say, you know what, just give me the $3,600 all right now in one payment. Or let's continue having it spread out over the year. And it would not be contingent on you owing taxes or anything else to the government. They would pay this to you no matter what. So back taxes, etc., it wouldn't matter. This would lift families out of poverty. The estimates are that it would reduce child poverty in the United States by 54% And when you look at the data, the United States is at the bottom of the industrialized world for child poverty. We are terrible. And we only compare to Romania and Chile are worse than the United States for child poverty. Every other industrialized country has child tax credits. They're also looking at removing that refundable option that so many people who don't make a lot of money end up not qualifying for the full benefit because then they have to get it taken out of their taxes and it's a whole pain in the butt. Democrats are looking to remove that. So it would be fully refundable. So you would get the full amount no matter what. If you're unemployed, you're not working, it wouldn't matter. They're also talking about having a cap on this thing up to a certain percentage for affluent rich people. So rich people would not get this. Others are saying, you know what, we should just have this be a blanket system across the country, no matter what your income. But Democrats are not going to go for that. According to the sources, Democrats are not going to want rich people getting child tax credits. So we don't yet know what that threshold will be. But these are two different plans being worked on. This is being worked on, by the way, by the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Richard Neal, and others. So these are senior Democrats that are putting this together. And it has the support of the president. It has the support of other members of the Democratic leadership. It has the support of some Republicans, Marco Rubio, Senator Mike Lee, who have pushed for large child tax credits in this country. But there are other Republicans who are going to balk at this big price tag. You know, it's going to be like $120 billion a year, to which I say, who the hell cares at this point? You know, reapportion some of the money that you're wasting overseas, put it back home, invest in America. That's how you do it. Wall Street Journal editorial board also came out. They've come out in the past talking about, you know, child tax credits and that this would be a redistribution of wealth. But does the Wall Street editorial board ever give a rat's behind when they take your tax dollars and funnel it to Wall Street, funnel it to the Middle East, to bomb people? That's redistributing wealth right there too, right? Take money from middle class and poor people and give it in the form of tax credits to the rich. So Amazon doesn't pay anything in taxes. Oh, by the way, we can funnel $900 billion to our defense budget so we can go bomb brown and black people in the Middle East. Yeah, that's what we do in the United States. So I am stunned by this news this afternoon. And again, this is Jeff Stein has been doing some amazing reporting on this. Has the support of the president to give parents $3,000 per child, in addition to the $2,000 for stimulus checks, in addition to the unemployment benefits of $600 a month or a week. And revitalizing healthcare. Bernie Sanders pushing for a massive overhaul, of course, of healthcare. These are all amazing, amazing proposals. And I just couldn't, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to do the show tonight because this just got me super excited. And I was also super excited because one of my favorite TikTok artists, Austin, who you guys remember last week. If you guys, by the way, if you like this stimulus plan, if you like this plan by Democrats, by the way, I'm just going to say, I'm putting my hand on my forehead again because I'm just blown away by this. We were worried that, some of these big progressive policies that we would want would not see the light of day, that these corporate Democrats were going to fold on these issues. And so far, that's not what we're seeing. Now, there's certain things we can pick apart, and I will over the next few days. There are certain things I'm not happy about right now with certain inside the Biden administration. But on the whole, a lot of these progressive executive actions, these executive orders, these plans being drafted, putting Bernie Sanders on budget chair in the Senate, all of these things are adding up to moving in a more progressive direction. And President Biden, then running for office, said he would be moving in that direction. Looks like it's happening. Wanting to remove our involvement in Yemen, end that deadly war. Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, during his confirmation hearing, talking about removing and getting us out of Yemen and ending that disastrous war. Bernie Sanders throwing his support behind Blinken for those comments. What's going on? Like, am I living in a bizarro world? Are we really seeing these corporate Democrats actually doing things meaningful for the American people? Okay, we're going to keep our eye on it. We're going to hold them accountable. But I call it like I see it. And right now I see goodness. I do. And I'm a positive person. And I also love hypocrisy, and I can't stand racism. And I love this guy on TikTok. So last week, or 2 weeks ago, he came out with this TikTok that just had me laughing my ass off. So he's out with a new one, though. So I'll show you the one from 2 weeks ago, because I love his like 1980s style when he like takes these people down. So watch this.
Maybe you've bullied others into silence, but sorry, it's not going to work for me. Maybe you've bullied others into silence, but sorry, it's not going to work for me.
I love this guy. And I love the little toe tapping in front of a pile of like random DVDs on his floor. That's 1980s like retro. So just tonight, he's out with a brand new one, taking down this person on this on the difference between being colored or a person of color.
Out here pretending like there's a difference between colored woman and woman of color. Out here pretending like there's a difference between colored woman and woman of color.
Specificity with your language is the thing that really matters, and trust that I'm being specific when I say you're a dumb racist, ignorant prick with a dumb white supremacist haircut and has all facts. Ooh, now shut up forever.
I think I've watched it like 10 times tonight. Oh, you dumb, ignorant prick. Oh, sorry. It takes a lot to get me to laugh. And I'm laughing like... I could play that over and over again. Okay. We got some other super chats here I want to get to before we wrap things up. Andrew James says, how dare the American government take care, or how dare the government take care of the American people? LOL. Exactly. How dare you? Imagine. Thank you to all of our new channel members. Justina Williams says, I wonder if this will be a $2,000 a month since last year until we are out of this pandemic. I wonder if this will be $2,000 a month since last year until... I wish. I mean, it would be amazing to have them do retroactive back to March of last year and then until the end of the pandemic. By the way, that's what Bernie Sanders wanted. It's also what Kamala Harris wanted, and it's also what Ed Markey wanted when they were over the summer. I think that kind of fell apart, but at least some of these big proposals has a lot more teeth than we thought we were going to see from the government. Let's see. Seth Ingalls says, I'm a conservative, but completely agree with you. You know, I think there's a lot of common ground. I mean, I'm a fairly conservative when it comes to, when I think about fiscal spending, like I don't want us to be massively in debt, but what does it mean to be conservative anymore? Like spending $900 billion a year building aircrafts that we don't use or need, and we're just lining the pockets of defense contractors? That's it. So we also send in stipends $40 billion a year to Boeing, $50 billion a year to Raytheon. For what? So they can continue to provide aircraft that we don't need and drones so we can continue to this endless war? Imagine just ending a portion of that and what we could do back home. It's absurd. Jason Yanis says, we're putting all of the pieces in place to have a robust universal basic income system in place with these programs. I agree. I think by putting up this Treasury Department, this treasury.gov back end, you know, having access to a portal, you've got Janet Yellen on board who supports much larger stimulus. You have Jerome Powell who also supports massive stimulus. It's all coming together, folks. Monique Woods says, Clayton, you're not reading my super chats. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through it, Monique. Let me get there. Monique, let me get there. Sorry, let me see. Where are you? Cher Marie, thank you for your super chat. Says thank you so much, Clayton. Thank you so much. Goucher, am I saying your name right? Goucher, thank you for your super chat. Tammy Biggs, thank you so much. You're so kind, everyone. Teresa Connor, keep up the awesome work, keeping us informed of the truth. Thank you. Ashley Baby, love that name, Ashley Baby. Thank you for your super chat. Says the United States is literally the ghetto. It's, yeah. I mean, you're not even mincing words. It really is. You know, it might be nice in some of, you know, these rich neighborhoods, these sort of cloistered walled gardens where we can keep the poor people out, right? Tippy the Nobody, thank you for your super chat. Says, what about the SSI and SSDI recipients and single people? Well, as it relates to child tax credits, you know, that wouldn't have anything to do with that piece of it. So the child tax credit would simply be for those with children who are up to 6 years old and 6 to 17 based on those different pricing schemes. And it would set them up with that $3,600 a year in child tax credits. So this would not be a part of that. But again, this is not finalized, so we don't know how this is all going to cover. Monique, oh, I see. Here you are, Monique. Hi, Clayton, me again. Do you think they will look at SSI and SSDI and increase what they receive because like many like my mom are struggling? Yes, I do. I mean, heck, you saw what President Biden did today with these executive actions. It was a pretty significant batch of executive actions that the president put into place today. Increases in the SNAP program, all kinds of increases across the board. So I don't think there's any reason why they wouldn't. Selva Reyes, is there any Clayton, there's an overwhelming number of people in the chat asking if there's any news yet for people that are receiving SSI or SSDI. Yeah, again, nothing yet. Nothing yet on that front. So early next week, we're going to start to see the framework of this stimulus package come together, the $1.9 trillion package. It could go well above that. I'm telling you, Bernie Sanders is not fooling around. If you listen to Bernie Sanders talk about this, he does not give a rat's behind about working with Republicans. Republicans have steamrolled over Democrats for years, and they have managed to push through massive tax breaks for the wealthy. They have managed to push forward judges. They've managed to do all sorts of things that Democrats weren't involved with or didn't care about. And they lost an election. Now, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. But these things the American people need. And this should not be a Republican issue or a Democratic issue. We should be able to push through these types of programs to help the American people and get these children out of poverty. We're all lifted up by this. We're only as good as our weakest links, as we all know. Here's Bernie Sanders, by the way, talking about this structure and using the reconciliation process, basically saying, screw you, Republicans.
I would hope that Republicans understand the severity of the crisis we're in right now. But if they do not, but the basic premise is to take a look at what's going on in our society today. When you have tens of millions of people who are struggling to put food on the table, to prevent themselves from being evicted, small businesses who are hanging in or going under, we got to act, and we have to act decisively. Now, I would hope that Republicans understand the severity of the crisis we're in right now. But if they do not, we have, as you know, budget reconciliation. Budget reconciliation is a Senate process that the Republicans use to give tax breaks to the rich. They used it to try to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Well, I'm going to be chairman of the Budget Committee. We're going to use it in a very different way, in a way that protects working families and the middle class, not just the rich.
That's right, baby. Let me further clarify this SSI thing, or the SSDI thing. So if you, for instance, like Andrew Frances says, what about the SSI that don't need to file taxes but have child dependents? Would they be eligible? Yes. Yes. Again, we haven't seen a final framework on this, but yes, yes, yes. So if you have dependents, you have child dependents that are in that age bracket, up to 6 years old, you get $3,600. From 6 up to 17, $3,000. Dependents, yes. Child tax credit. Doesn't matter if you're on Social Security benefits. Would have nothing to do with that. In fact, in my reporting, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter if you hold back taxes or you have some other form of government assistance. This is totally different. Totally different program that Democrats are putting together right now. Republicans, some are supportive of it, like Marco Rubio supports it. Others, Mike Lee, we should congratulate those guys. You know, they've been dipshits on other things, but hey, at least they're supporting this, helping working class people and helping us get out of poverty. It's a no-brainer. So there is bipartisan support for this. But guess what? They don't need Republicans. They're going to pass this without them anyway. So that's a wrap tonight, folks. If I brought you any value at all today, I really appreciate it. Just go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. And like I said, if you'd like to be a part of our community here, you can. You can become a channel member. It's very easy to do as well. But we have our daily newsletter that goes out Monday through Friday. If you sign up right now for free, it's totally free. Just drop your email in here. You're going to get a welcome email. And when you get that welcome email, just, hit me back. Reply to my email because I send it to you. It just comes from my email. And just let me know that you got the welcome email, and you'll get our newsletter starting on Monday when we publish our new one. So we work really, really hard on that. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Much love to all of you. And we will see you back here. I'll probably be doing a show tomorrow because I love doing the show. So we'll see you. Set your timer. 9 a.m. Eastern time, folks. 9 a.m. Eastern time. Right here on the channel. Thanks, everyone. Grover says thank you. He's ready for the rest of the night. I love you guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow, everyone.